Hello and welcome to another episode of Dude, Is This Thing On? I'm your host, Tyler Daswick, and joining me as always, our producer, Emilio Cariotti.
How's it going, everybody?
Emilio, man, it is a special edition of the podcast this week. It's Bollywood week. I don't know if there is a single other podcast out there on the whole internet that is going to have...
That has done Bollywood.
Like we are about to do Bollywood.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to paint the Bollywood red.
Paint Bollywood red. So before the main Bollywood segment, we have an armful of Bollywood movies under our belts that we have gone back and watched. And before that, we are going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Far Cry 5. And
yes.
After that, we're going to do the classic GB as always.
Classic GB. I got my khakis starched for the GB.
Oh man, it has been a while.
It's been 2 weeks without a GB.
I'm gonna be rusty. I'm a little worried.
So I'm ready. I'm a little frisky tonight. I'm ready for a GB, which I haven't prepared for as fucking usual. So I'm just gonna wing a recommendation for you guys.
Beautiful. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Perfect.
But listen, man. Before we get into the Bollywood segment, which I'm super excited to talk to you about.
I know, right?
A writer at Relevant, I oversee a little roster of culture writers here, and one of them brought to my attention that in just 6 days from now, we are recording on a Wednesday, and next Tuesday, March 27th, marks the release of the next Far Cry game, Far Cry 5. It kind of came out of nowhere for me, but I know you have been a longtime fan. You turned me on to the series.
Fan is a strong word. I've been a long-time consumer.
I thought you were really into Far Cry 2, 3, and 4.
I have some things to say about Far Cry.
Okay.
I'm a fan, maybe, but there's some other mixed emotions with the franchise.
Okay. Have you been following the?
Yes, I have been very closely because I am excited to see where this one goes. And I have a lot to say about this one, good and bad, I feel like.
Okay, so the premise, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't really do my research on this one, but I guess you are sort of trapped in a cult compound in Montana or something like that.
Yeah, it's not really a compound. They haven't really explained it yet, but I'm sure there will be some sort of Deus Ex reason for why you can't seem to just drive away. Yeah. They'll have coincidentally blown the 6 bridges of Madison County looking fucking bridges that lead out of town, and you're just gonna have to stay there and fight it out. I'm sure they will invent some fucking reason why you can't get away from this cult community, but for the most part, yeah, you're right. You're in Montana. You're a sheriff or a marshal or something like that, and you've strolled into town to take down this cult to investigate these cult leaders and shit, and somehow you're stranded there, and now you gotta help the people of Hopes County or whatever the fuck the name of the county is to kill these 3 baddies that are siblings called the Seed family. Okay. Their last name is Seed. I can't remember. They each have some kooky, wacky shit that they do that makes them interesting or something.
All right.
I don't know.
You seem pretty cynical about it.
Well, here's the thing with the Far Cry, and this is my big complaint to Ubisoft in general. I know none of them will ever fucking hear this, but maybe they will, right? Here's the thing. I've been on a downward decline with Ubisoft since Ghost Recon Future Soldier. That was when it first occurred to me Ubisoft isn't the company that it fucking used to be. And here's why. Here's their thing. They invent a new game, a new concept, and it does fucking amazing. Assassin's Creed, yes. Genius, revolutionary, brilliant. Ghost Recon, genius, revolutionary, brilliant. Splinter Cell, same fucking thing. Far Cry series was awesome, and Far Cry 2 was, I thought, the pinnacle. That was the one that I grew up kind of playing, and it was just the bee's fucking knees, right? But once these guys strike gold, their corporate suits kind of descend on the artistic people at the company, and they're perfect. Now we've got a formula. Let's just copy and paste this for 15 games and punch out a bunch of money, right? They don't. Every iteration of the game after the first one is just kind of a clone. Okay. It's not. They build in some regards, but a lot of it is just cut and copy. And with the Assassin's Creed series, because there's so many fucking games in that franchise, you can kind of see a little bit more development and stuff between games. But especially for Far Cry, it's just Okay, so Far Cry 2 introduced a whole bunch of new elements, and Far Cry 3 really did a good job of taking those elements further and making them stronger and adding new elements. But then Far Cry 4 was just like a reskin for all intents and purposes. I liked Far Cry 4. It was a super fun game, but I understood that it was Far Cry 3 set in Nepal, Kiryat, whatever the fuck the name of the town was, right? The community. Okay. And then Far Cry Primal was like literally a reskin of the map. If you overlay the two maps together from Far Cry Primal and Far Cry 4, they are the exact same fucking map. That's just lazy. Like, come on. You have to fucking develop a new map. It's the same thing that we're seeing with this new Metal Gear Solid game that everyone is like shitting their pants about. It's just like lazy development for the sake of money. And I am afraid that perhaps Far Cry 5 is going to follow that same formula.
Got it.
Just like a reskin in Montana. So that's my biggest concern. And I know it's not very scientific, and I'm sure people could punch a bunch of holes in it, but the way that I can kind of see the way that this is maybe going to be going is to look at the guns. And you know me, like, I'm super into like guns and stuff like that. Not like as a nut job thinking the government's going to come and like, you know, rape our wives, rape our AKs and ride off with their wives or whatever. But in the sense that I just find them interesting in media and how they're like betrayed and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so if you look at Far Cry 3 and look up the list of guns that were in Far Cry 3 and then match them to Far Cry 4, you will find that there are a lot of guns that directly carry over, as in they just reskin them or whatever. Sometimes they didn't even do that, and then they just kind of updated them a little bit and then directly dropped them into the next game. So Far Cry 3 did that to Far Cry 4, and now I'm looking at the list, and it pretty much looks like a lot of the same shit is, like, carrying over. Some, like, newer shit, I get that, but this is not looking good right off the bat. I hope that I'm wrong. I will still absolutely play the game, but my big concern is that they are maybe reskinning some stuff to make a profit, and the fact that they're adding in like pay elements and like paywalls and kind of like Dropbox sort of stuff. Oh god, it just reeks of like bad juju. I just, you know, and Ubisoft kind of has a history with this sort of stuff, you know. I mean, Rainbow Six was fucking awesome when it dropped. I played the shit out of that game, but the more and more updates that came out, man, the more and more they started just like churning out ridiculous fucking characters and dropping like different like elite skins and charms and all this stuff, and so it just became like a Counter-Strike sort of environment. And I know that's not a super popular opinion because people fucking love Counter-Strike, but come on, there's a lot of bad elements of Counter-Strike, especially like the skins and the money grabbing and the theft and all that shit that comes along when you just focus more on the money instead of the artistic integrity of the fucking game, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, that's my gripe. It looks cool. Yeah. Like, it looks fun. Like, I will definitely play it because at the very least you're going to get a fun experience out of it. I don't know how integral the pay mechanics are going to be in this game. Yeah. There's a lot of skepticism on the fucking internet, right? Like, you can go on to anybody on the internet and be like, Far Cry 5, bad. Like 1,000 fucking like, previews on how it's going to be a shit show. I don't fucking know until I play it. But I can see the blood in the water right now, and that if it turns out not to be like fantastic, in that a lot of people will gripe about like certain elements, like the reskinning of the game and the pay mechanics, I will say right now I'm not going to be too surprised. Okay, I will be more surprised if it's like fucking 100%, like just has rave reviews. It like breaks the mold and is like something new and fantastic because it looks kind of like the same old from afar. Okay,
well, let's keep tabs on it. Maybe it'll be something we talk about on the show, or you know, if it just sucks or is.
I'll definitely. If it sucks, I will definitely tell you. If it's great, I will definitely tell you. It's gonna go one way or another. It's either just gonna be like, you know, it's just Far Cry 4 reskinned in fucking Montana with some elements of Far Cry Primal. Like, their big thing is like, oh, well, we've introduced Animal, the beast mode, beast friend, what the fuck, the French Quebec thing that they say, like, the beast mode mechanic. And I'm like, okay, well, that was in Far Cry Primal. Like, and then they're like, oh, well, you know, the one thing that they said is that they fleshed out the world, which Ubisoft games are great, and they have awesome open world games, but they fucking suck at fleshing out their worlds, and they've always done this. You can go back to Assassin's Creed 1, and people will be like, oh, well, that game came out in 2008, and I'm like, so did fucking GTA 4, and that was a fully realized New York City, you know? So it's not fucking impossible. I feel like they cut a lot of corners and they just don't put a lot of shit in their world. So they're cool and open and expansive, but there's a lot of downtime between like doing stuff, and that can kill an open world game. And that has been my experience in Far Cry's 3 and 4. So they're saying they're fleshing it out. They are done with cell towers, like lookout towers, which thank God, because that was getting really stale. But I don't know if that's really going to be enough to break the mold, so we'll fucking see.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned, and maybe we'll dial it back some more on Far Cry 5.
Yeah. I wish I had some better news, but the diagnosis is skeptical.
Yeah, jeez. All right. Well, on to better things. So, it's Bollywood. It's our Bollywood episode. Maybe our only Bollywood episode ever.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah, let's not put a definitive on this, but we'll see how the numbers are. We'll see what the sponsors say, and we'll get back to you.
So
if Mumbai Muscle wants us to pull it, then we'll pull it.
So here's what happened. At the end of the last episode, you sprung this idea on me and said we're each gonna go find on our own 2 different movies from Bollywood on Netflix, and we're just gonna report back, and we're gonna spend our featured segment talking about them.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. We each went and watched 2 Bollywood movies. I had never watched a Bollywood movie before.
I had not either. So you were in good company.
But I want to know though, is like what was the inspiration for the idea? What kind of piqued your interest in this?
So like I said at the end of like the last episode a couple weeks ago was my major in college was international affairs and political science. I went to like a huge like kind of international school, a lot of fucking international kids. My mom is an immigrant. She's not from this country, so I just was always very interested in other cultures, and a big part of culture is television. And for the majority of the world, they watch American TV. We are the biggest exporter of pop culture on the globe. And so, yeah, there's like manga and stuff from China and Japan, and like these little kind of like microcosms that are getting big. Like anime's fucking huge now. It's bigger than I think it's ever been, But one like titan of the industry that I personally felt got overlooked a lot was Bollywood, an industry so big and so like kind of connected in a way to like Western sort of media that it directly takes its fucking name from Hollywood. It is the Hollywood of the East. And for a country that has over 1 billion fucking people, it's like a big deal, that they are able to give 1 billion people living in their country an alternative to Western Hollywood. And it's successful, in some ways more successful than Hollywood. The only reason that Americans don't know about it is because it's not really commercialized here in the US. It's not accessible. But, and props to Netflix, they realized that and have started adding a shit ton of Bollywood movies onto their subscription base for people expats from India who live here in the United States who want a little taste of home. And I thought that was fucking cool. So I noticed that there was a shit ton of Bollywood movies, and I kind of just like sprung it. And I'm like, hey dude, let's do this Bollywood thing and see where it goes. Maybe we'll find that Bollywood is far superior than Hollywood and that we've just been missing out on this fucking gold mine of entertainment for the past 30 years, however long Bollywood's been around, about that long.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that you know the name and you hear about it, and I mean 10 years ago when Slumdog Millionaire was having its moment, you kind of heard some stuff about it, but for such a huge thing, my impression is it really kind of just is in a bubble, weirdly.
Yeah, no, it is. It's in a bubble but it's in such a huge bubble that from afar you're like, well, how the fuck are we not involved in this bubble?
Exactly.
It's 1 billion people know this fucking thing, but the other 6 billion are completely absent-minded to it. It's just like, it's insane. 1/7 of the world's population considered this Bollywood bigger than Hollywood. They have stars like Leo DiCaprio. I don't fucking know any of them.
Right.
But like, they worship these people more than Leo. You go up to like a slum in Mumbai and be like, oh, did you see the new Leo movie? And I'm like, fuck no, dude. Did you see the new Rashid movie? That shit was dope. Yeah, it's like the fucking... it's like that old like saying where it's like, oh, well, you can go to Swaziland and say, you know, have you heard of the Yankees? And everyone's gonna be like, yes, I've heard of the Yankees,
Right.
but like to the Hollywood, that doesn't fucking exist in like India, you know, in a way. So I found that super fucking interesting.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm excited to get into this. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to switch off, and the only rule is when it comes to explaining the plot summary of the movie, you're just going to dish. You're going to give the title, but then just try to keep. I'm going to make it a personal goal. Keep the plot summary as concise as possible because I found both of my movies, in as different as they were, weirdly hard to explain. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I will probably have a little bit less problem with that just because my two movies were sequels to one another.
Gosh.
So they followed a very similar path.
Okay.
Which at first I was like, oh, you know, maybe I should watch a different movie. But I really just wanted to see both of them. So fuck it.
Okay, sweet. So I'll just go ahead. Okay, so the first movie I watched is called Delhi Belly. It came out in It came out.
I saw that one. That was a close contender for second place for me because I was like, how can I not watch this?
Dude, it was really good. Delhi Belly is about these. It is basically the Hangover of India.
Beautiful. I can already fucking imagine.
These
who do they lose? Like who gets left on the roof? Holy shit.
Yeah, these three guys basically bumble their way through a giant crime conspiracy story and hilarity ensues. That's the movie.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it's
perfect.
named after a slang term for traveler's diarrhea.
Delhi Belly?
Delhi
Oh my
Belly.
god, that's awesome. That's like Montezuma's Revenge. Holy shit.
Yeah. So yeah, man, Delhi Belly. That was the first movie I watched.
Oh my
Dude,
god. Do you know? Okay, here's. I will totally fail this test, but do you know the names of the people who starred?
No, though
You didn't write it down.
I have them right here in front of me. I don't know who they are, but it stars Imran Khan, Veer Das, Kunal Roy Kapoor.
Okay. Big names.
Yeah, you know him.
Big names of the industry.
You know him. Purna Jagannathan, and then I don't have you hitter.
I bet there's some Indian listeners that would be like, God, man, this guy's fucking Hindi sucks.
Yeah. And then Shenaz Treasury-wala. So yeah,
Treasury.
Literally Treasury-wala. I'm just reading off of Wikipedia. But I also know that the production company is Amir Khan Productions, and so his son is like the main star of the movie. And I think this Amir Khan guy is like a huge either like music or comedy star in India. I'm not positive, but I'm gonna look it up while we're talking.
That's funny. I actually, when you said Amir Khan, and it's not a very uncommon name in India because no names are really uncommon, but I actually know the man, not personally, but I know of him because of what I do for work.
Really?
So as soon as you said like, because you said Amir Khan, and I'm like, God damn, that really does ring a bell, like in Bollywood, you know? I'm like, why the fuck do I know that? And then you said comedian and like producer, and I'm like, oh, that's how I know him from work. So I actually know that. I actually know about that guy because I've had to do research on him.
Dude, okay.
So
no, so but it kind of makes sense that you know about him because just looking it up.
Because he's big and he probably has a lot of fingers and a lot of pies.
Yeah,
in the
he's
industry.
huge. To quote the irrefutable Wikipedia, through his career spanning 30 years in Hindi films, Khan has established himself as one of the most popular and influential actors of Indian cinema. And it goes on to say, with a large global following, especially in India and China, he has been described by Newsweek as, quote, the biggest movie star in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So...
and totally makes sense.
Yeah, so Delhi Belly, which, by the way, I should add, has the tagline, shit happens.
Thank God.
Yeah. That
was right.
Is out of his production company. And it should be said that Amir Khan makes a cameo at the end of this movie as a singing and dancing Elvis impersonator called the Disco Fighter.
Interesting.
Yep. It's
okay.
Listen, man, I had a great time actually with this movie. It's like half in English, half Hindi, so a lot of like the comedy and like the tone of the jokes, a lot of it was able to land with me. I thought all the guys were like pretty cool actors, and what I appreciate about it, just like as a movie, is the comedy sort of like runs the gamut. So there are really good like physical jokes and visual jokes. There's some like obviously some gross out humor.
Comedy is such like a specific thing to each kind of culture and language that it doesn't translate over well at all.
Right.
So the fact that they were able to do that, it's actually really fucking cool.
Yeah, like I actually I like laughed out loud at a couple moments. These guys were like really strong comedic actors. They had really good chemistry. Yeah, man, Delhi Belly. It's a pretty good movie.
Fuck it, cool. Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Were you gonna go the full 10 minutes on Delhi Belly?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, you're about 5 minutes in.
Okay. Well, what? I want to flip it over to you.
Okay.
And I want to hear the first movie you picked because
So here, a little bit of background.
Okay.
We started this out and we were doing, background to the audience. You know this already, but, we started talking and stuff like that. And I started talking about this movie that I had seen first, and it was the sequel to another movie. And I was just like, fuck it. Like, I'll just watch the sequel. Who gives a shit? I bet I'll be fine, I bet I won't be any more lost watching the second one than starting from the beginning, right? And you had also expressed that you had seen a very long movie that was your second pick that was also a sequel. So, I'm going to start off with the sequel first, then we'll backtrack to the prequel or the original,
I watched an original of something. I know that.
You watched an original of something?
No, I watched the first of... I watched the first movie in a 2-movie series.
Okay, well, I watched the second movie first. Maybe it's the same one.
Okay.
Baahubali 2, the conclusion. Yeah, right? Holy shit, that fucking movie! Oh my god! I watched 2, the conclusion, and when I put it on, I was like, fuck it. Like, I'll watch the conclusion. Who gives a shit? It is like an epic in every sense of the fucking word, right? Like, so the main story, from what I surmise, just from the fucking second movie, is Baahubali. They just call him
Baahubali.
Like Baahubali, whatever. I can't fucking pronounce it. The mountain, as he's known, is like Hercules, but like way more dramatic. Yes. Like, it would be like it's like the Indian equivalent of the story of Hercules. So it's like a Hindi Indian like traditional folk tale, but made for the silver screen. Yep. And oh my god, dude, it was just like fucking ridiculous. So the movie just the second one just starts off right where the first, like literally they did a hard cut at the end of the first one, and they're like, and the second one picks up like a step after the fucking first movie. Yep. So I wasn't lost at all, because they just essentially started off the movie with, by the way, the opening sequence, like the credits, fucking awesome, man. I thought those were like the coolest credits I had seen in like fucking forever. I don't know if they
with all the like animals in front of the fire and shit.
The animals are the head cutting. It's just like this. It looked like 300. It looked like if it was the story of Hercules, but it had the comedy of the Three Stooges mixed with the direction of 300. Yeah. And that's essentially what you fucking have. And so you have just this epic story about this guy, Baahubali, who like loves his mother, the queen of mothers, the queen mother, what the fuck her name is, so much that he would, a direct quote, move mountains for her, and that is repeated multiple times. And it's just like a testament to like the culture of like how cherished sons are to their mothers. Yeah. There's like some weird ass scenes in it that like you probably wouldn't be able to show in like American culture, because everyone would just call the main character like a total mama's boy, and he is, for all intents and purposes, like a total fucking mama's boy. But to their culture, totally fucking normal. And that's cool. I'm with it. I suspended my disbelief and I'm like, cool. There's like this one scene. First off, with Bollywood movies, I don't know if this is the experience with your movie or maybe it's just epics in general.
Yeah.
But every about 30 to 45 minutes of this movie, there was a dance sequence.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like a big part of like the fucking culture of Bollywood, which is really cool.
Even Delhi Belly ended with a song and dance number.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Baahubali 2 had at least 5 throughout the 3 hour and like 20 minute fucking runtime of this movie. I didn't realize how long it was. I literally just read the description and I was like, and just fucking started the fucking movie.
Right.
So about an hour and 50 minutes in, I was like, God, man, how much? Oh my God, it's half over. Like, holy shit. It was 3 movies rolled into fucking one.
Yeah.
But so the beginning sequence is like kind of like a dance number in which it is showing Bahubali's like love and devotion to his mother, and there's some like weird scenes there where he's just like inexplicably sleeping, clearly fake sleeping on the bed on her knee while she's just discussing politics in like a throne room sort of situation. I'm like, how the fuck are you sleeping through this, dude? There's like 500 people there. It's just like kind of weird stuff like that. But like, so just shortly to summarize, the second movie is about how the mother queen becomes queen mother and how Bahubali has to go on this journey of discovery and manhood and goes out into the fucking world and meets the love of his life, this other queen who is a strong, independent Indian woman who don't need no man, but she is definitely going to marry this guy because she knows her place. But she challenges the queen mother, and her and the queen mother like have friction because strong, independent women who don't need no men tend to have fucking friction in these kinds of movies. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of beheadings. None of it is overly graphic because I guarantee you, I don't know too much about Bollywood, but I guarantee you like really graphic stuff is probably not like okay in that sort of industry. So it's like kind of like cartoony violence, and the CGI is testament to that. Sometimes the CGI looked awesome, and other times I was like, well, who fucking did this? Like a little kid, you know, there was some times that it just like it looked really fucking good, and I was like, holy shit, that looks like a Michael Bay fucking movie. And then other times where I was like, holy shit, that looks like a class project. Like, what the fuck happened? So it's just like this weird mix of like good and bad elements. One thing that I will say, though, that stretched between these two movies was the set design in almost every single scene was fucking amazing. These guys know how to build a set. Holy shit. And I think it's because their sense of scale is fucking incredible. Go
ahead.
Yeah, continue. No. I want to hear what you say.
Okay. So, like, I don't know how much like research you did after the fact into
none
Baahubali the beginning and Baahubali 2 the conclusion.
The conclusion.
but we stumbled across probably the 2 most important movies in Bollywood cinema.
Really?
Yes, these movies are incredibly important.
I can see it, dude. I can see it. It looked like people invested a lot of time and effort into these movies. They're like epics.
Yeah, this is like in terms of pushing the Bollywood industry forward in terms of like visual effects and money and like set design. So the first Baahubali came out in 20 it's fun to say. In 2015. It was the most expensive movie ever made in India. And
shit, do you know how much it cost?
I mean, this is what's crazy. So I'm like, oh, it's like $100 million, but I think in US dollars, I think honestly, dude, I think it comes out to like 20 million.
No shit. Yeah, it says here 180 crore, which I don't know what the translation is for that. That's 20 million, you said?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Those guys know how to stretch a buck.
Crazy,
that looks like it's way more fucking expensive.
It looks like $100 million movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And so
wow.
Yeah.
We should have them making everything. Holy shit. I know.
And so it's and so that budget is only surpassed by the second one, by the conclusion. And when when the first Baahubali came out, it was the highest grossing Indian movie ever. And it's been surpassed by 3 movies, but the second one is the highest grossing movie ever in India. Like,
do you know what that one is? 25 million?
In terms of the gross, I don't know exactly.
Jesus, that's incredible. Holy shit, I can't believe they made that movie. It's a 3 fucking hour movie, 3 hours and 20 minutes almost movie, and they made it for I don't
I know. It's mind-blowing.
The costumes alone, man, if you made that shit in the US would cost $20 million.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah,
and every single costume was like fucking incredible.
Right. So to paint a picture of this movie, these are like half fantasy, half like sword and sandals ish, like but they're like epics. Like think of like Ben-Hur or Lord of the Rings, but like Indian.
Yeah, it's like Indian Lord of the Rings, or like fucking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like the way that it's sort of like that fantasy epic, like kung fu, people flipping through the air and shit.
Yeah, wire action kind of stuff. Totally.
Yeah, a lot of wire action. Oh my god.
Yeah, so these movies are like bizarrely incredibly important, which is why I was super excited to come onto the pod.
Yeah,
because we found like super by all accounts like really good Bollywood movies,
good representation. These are like the best examples of the industry.
Yeah, so we totally lucked out and stumbled into this, and I'll be honest, man, like I only watched the first one. Dude, I was super into it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. That's why I was like, so I watched the second one, and by hour 2, I was like, okay, it's exhausting. I had to watch in pieces because it's like 3 movies rolled into one. But it literally is like the story of Hercules and how there's like 15 stories within the whole story of like Hercules. I'm not talking about the kids movie. I'm talking about like the actual fucking trials, the 7 trials or whatever of Hercules, like the actual story.
It's like the kind of story where like. So in the first one, the first hour is Baahubali, and then like one character will be like, "Oh, you don't know who your father is?" Cue 90-minute flashback.
Another fucking movie about like the origin. I dig it, man. Yeah. I honestly, because for one movie you're getting 3 fucking movies. It'd be like if they rolled. And at first I thought, oh man, that's ridiculous. Like almost a 4-hour movie, 3.5 hour movie. Like that's too much. But like then I was thinking on the toilet at work. I was like, well. The Lord of the Rings is 6 hours, and that's 3 movies. They probably could have condensed at least 2 of those fucking together and made a Baahubali. They essentially made like a 6-hour movie in a 6-hour like series in 2 movies. I wish they would do that shit here in the United States instead of me having to fucking wait every year or 2 for another stupid Avengers movie. They could put all the fucking Avengers movies together in one goddamn movie, Baahubali style, and fucking save us a bunch of time.
Yeah. It's
more efficient.
It's like bizarrely economical for how long the movies are.
Like I said, they stretched a fucking buck. They're like, okay, we have all the shit together, we have the equipment, all the actors are here. We're just gonna bang this fucker out and like make a huge fucking movie and release it as one movie, and people are gonna love it. I just saw the fucking reviews for the first one. It's a 92%. That's incredible.
Yeah, and like. And it's all the money, obviously all the money is on the screen, but it's also like, it's really cool that these are actually considered really great, and for all the money that went into them in India, and you can imagine all the hype that went up, and people are like, wow, these movies are going to be like insane. Oh my gosh, look at the advertising. We've never seen effects like this. We've never seen sets like this. We've never seen costumes, all of that. And then the movie was awesome, and people loved it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not like overhyped. I guarantee you, if something equivalent was made here in the United States, perfect example, The Hobbit. They fucked it up.
Gosh, you're right.
Lord of the Rings is great, but The Hobbit was supposed to be like the next gen, the best, but CGI, fucking, dick sucking CGI, fucking the best thing that Peter Jackson ever fucking, it fucking sucked, alright? I saw the first one, and I knew the other 2 were gonna be shit, and people like to fucking defend The Hobbit, but those people are fucking liars, and they should feel ashamed. They know The Hobbit's not good.
Yeah.
But here we go, man. Here's the thing. I personally, based on my standards, because of where I come from and what I'm exposed to and what I can compare to, because I only saw 2 movies, they're direct like lineage to each other, and I haven't seen any other Bollywood movies really, so I can't like really compare it to anything else except for Western movies. If you would have asked me, I would have been like, no, I mean, it's a cool movie, but I don't think it would be 92%. But it's so fucking important to these people that it has like almost 100% reviews. that's incredible. Like, hats off to the fucking people who made that movie. Like, good fucking work, man.
Yeah, and it's cool that it doesn't feel like it's trying to be anything except a Hindi movie or a Bollywood movie. Like, you get the dance, you get the songs, you get all of this sort of like folklore, and it could only be made in Bollywood. Like,
right, like you couldn't do this in the United States. You'd be laughed out of the fucking thing. And what a shame, because you have such like a culturally important fucking movie.
Yeah, and like, you know, Baahubali isn't like a super complicated character or super nuanced, but it works because like
he's quite the opposite.
Like, yeah, incredibly simple. but his sort of like unwavering nobility and sincerity and like pure-heartedness, it fits so well into the tone of the movie that I don't care.
For the fucking it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay, this guy can do anything. Like literally every 10 seconds he is, especially in the second one, every 10 seconds he is presented with an obstacle, and within 5 seconds it is no longer there.
Right.
Like, it's just 5 minutes, obstacle gone. 5 minutes, obstacle gone. There was one part where, like, so there's this big epic battle in the second movie between the home city of his true love. I honestly can't remember her name. The most beautiful princess in the world, blah, 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 blah. And his, like, evil brother who's trying to steal her for himself. That's about as complex as the movie gets, by the way. And he is running up the side of a dam, pulls the fucking entire dam down, kills 10,000 people, and then one guy who has been presented as the past half hour as being like the badass general runs up to him, and you think there's going to be like a prolonged, like choreographed Jason Bourne style fight with this guy for 10 minutes. Nope. Within 5 seconds, he has taken the guy's knife away from him, dug it through his hand into a piece of wood, and then he's swept away by the river. Meanwhile, Baahubali jumps onto a floating log that conveniently goes right next to the fucking wall, where he jumps up, and a conveniently placed breeze blows right through his luscious locks, and everybody can see him in all of his erect glory. And that happens like every 5 minutes.
It's such a treat. I love it.
It is. It's so different that I was like, I'm in. Fuck it. This is awesome. Like, fuck Hollywood, dude. I'm good with Bollywood for at least the next 5 movies.
Yeah, I had the exact same moment watching the first one. So his first major obstacle in the first movie is to like summit this sort of like holy waterfall, and at the very top he gets to this little ledge, and he's completely unarmed, and he has no gear, but on the ledge is like a little sapling and like a little fern, and out of this sapling and fern and like whatever pebbles are on this little ledge at the top of like a 300-foot waterfall as it's built, he fashions himself a homemade bow and arrow. He then and so the ledge has like this overhang over it with a tree on top, and he has no way to like physically climb up, so he leaps off of his ledge, spins around in midair, fires a grappling arrow through the tree on the ledge above him, and it's all shot to make Baahubali look like the biggest badass possible. Like, it loves Baahubali. It's so great.
It does. Like, the story is his, and he has his own soundtrack, which is so cool. Yeah. Anytime he does anything Herculean, the soundtrack comes on talking about how he moves mountains and he controls the seas with the trident like fucking Poseidon. It's just fucking nuts, dude. It's nuts. Yeah. There's nothing this motherfucker can't do. Anytime anyone's like, oh, Baahubali, I doubt that before he could even finish the sentence, Baahubali has done it, and then 10 other fucking feats of strength. Yeah. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, okay, but the one thing that I love all of that, and it makes it so charming. But so for the first movie ends with legit like this hour-long war scene. And there's a battle. Dude, I thought that was really cool. It's so tactical, and they like kind of lay out beforehand on like their kind of classic battle map. Like, okay, we're gonna execute this like, you know, never before done trident maneuver. That, guess who came up with that one? Baahubali.
Yeah, right. Conveniently.
Yeah, Baahubali had the great idea, and so they kind of lay out all the tactics and the strategy beforehand, and then for the next hour, you watch them execute that. And I thought the action was pretty cool, and they use all kinds of like, you know, trebuchets and like different weapons and all this cool stuff. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it is. Because I think so in international fairs, like the international fairs like 1101, the first fucking class that you'll take in college, the first thing they teach you is don't say the words, oh, well, it's just the culture, because that's like the lazy man's way of like explaining something.
Okay.
Like you're never supposed to just be like, oh, well, you know, Mexicans like fried rice because it's the culture. There's like a long lineage of political and socioeconomic reasons for why they like this certain thing or do this certain thing or whatever, right?
Okay.
Not to pick on the Mexicans, it's just the first thing that pops into my mind, right? And so I really don't want to say that it's just the culture, but India has like such a long history of military lineage, especially, you know, going back to like when they were essentially like an empire in like the 1700s and stuff, and even their attachment to the British Empire and stuff. It's cool how much of that like directly transfers over to their media. And it's, in the second one too, there's like scenes of battle and stuff like that, and you're right, it's very tactical, and they map things out, and they have all these different weapons, and everyone's got these cool fucking weapons, and they kind of like explain what each one is, because I bet that a lot of the dudes in this country fucking dig that shit, and that's like just a really big point of pride for them to have that kind of like explained and sort of embellished in their movie, and that's fucking awesome. Think of like the Navy SEALs, and like how every time there's like a Navy SEAL in any movie in the United States, he's just like total tactical badass, and then everyone in the movie theater like runs out and gets like Punisher skulls like on their back of their truck, right? Like it's that sort of thing, but in kind of a cooler, less tacky way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Because I did find myself wondering as I was watching, I was like, man, I just kind of wish I knew why this story was important. Because you're right, like there are like literal like backing choirs as the camera like pans up Bahubali's like muscular body, and these choirs, you're right, are like talking about like the legendary feats that he's done and comparing him to all these gods and like talking about his divine destiny and all this stuff. And it's like, man, like I kind of want to know where this all comes from. I was super compelled by all that.
Do some research on it. Yeah. Normally I would have, but I literally just like did this marathon of movies like last night, so I didn't really have like time to research. But yeah, like I said, he's got like his theme song, and it's like, now I am talking about the cartoon, the Hercules like theme song, where you have the chicks on the vase like singing about his feats and kind of gets everybody up to speed. And so the second movie opens up like that, where it literally just opens up with a musical number where it kind of just like catches you up in case for some reason you're the one person living in India who didn't see the fucking triumph that was Baahubali the beginning.
Yeah, no man, it's awesome. Do you have any more thoughts about it? I'm getting ready to shift topics, but I mean, I think...
Yeah, we should. I think, yes, the set design and the music was just incredible, and I actually really enjoyed the musical numbers where they just did a music video, essentially.
Yeah.
And the camera work was great, too. Like, honestly, these guys, like, the directors knew how to work a camera really fucking well. And I don't mean to be patronizing. I don't mean like, whoa, thank God the fucking Indians knew it. No, I'm not coming from it, like, as an imperialist standpoint. I'm just someone who hasn't been exposed to how they do their art. Like, it's interesting to see that it is pretty much exactly how like Westerners sort of like handle cameras too, and there was a lot of like comparisons that I saw between their camera work and their design and sort of us. I probably would bet that we learned a thing or two from them when it comes to set design, because these guys were like masters of it. I felt like they did such a good fucking job.
Yeah, I think if you're into movies and want to expose yourself to something, you can do so much worse than Baahubali. Like they're just so impressive. That's what I walked. I was
they
like,
really are. They're really cool. They're incredible.
Yeah, and they're super entertaining to boot. You could do way worse. I recommend people watch them.
I recommend that too. Honestly, like start with the first one.
Yeah,
and clear out your schedule because they're fucking long, man. But I honestly recommend them. If you only see like one Bollywood movie just for like cultural reasons, like, oh, I just want to be exposed to the culture, whatever, watch Baahubali.
Yep, it is sneakily one of the most important international movies of like the last 5 years. We found it randomly on Netflix. Lucky.
Yeah, could you imagine if that movie had won like an Oscar for international movies, because it's always like Europeans or
Yeah.
Mexicans or South Americans or something. Just there's just like no recognition for this industry, but it's like really good, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. It's fucking not anything that I've ever been used to, and there are obviously some things that just like go right over my head. But that's like that's because of me, not because like the movie is bad,
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that again, to repeat the title, that's Baahubali. If you don't know how to spell Baahubali, Baahubali. The first one's subtitled The Beginning, and the second one's subtitled The Conclusion.
Yeah, just in case you get confused about what they're about.
Pretty awesome. Well, listen, let's move on to the GB. I'll go first to give you some time to cook on it. So my recommendation this week, I am surprised I'm even recommending it. I walked into the movie theater this past weekend and kind of expected it to not be that good, but a couple people at work had recommended this movie, and the reviews were surprisingly good. And it's a movie called Game Night. Have you seen a trailer for it?
Oh, I have. That looked like fairly entertaining. Was it kind of like Date Night with Tina Fey and
Steve Carell?
Steve Carell?
No,
because that's kind of the feeling that I got from it.
It's definitely like, I mean, it's rated R, and so you get some. I think the toy box of jokes is bigger. Okay, but it's not a hard.
Yeah, you have more to work.
It's not a hard R. They just kind of use they use it for good jokes. Like, there are some violent jokes that like kind of like come out of nowhere and shake you up a little bit that are really fun. But dude, Game Night is really good. It's super funny. It's very entertaining. It's a total crowd pleaser, but it also is like weirdly really, really intelligent in that there are so many hidden references to like tabletop and board games within it. So
interesting.
Yeah, so
that's an interesting way to take that movie.
Yeah. So a lot of a lot of gags are sort of sneaky references to popular games. Like, for example, there's an extended action sequence that's essentially a game of Keep Away. There's another like action gag that is sort of an allusion to Mousetrap.
Interesting. Does the trap not like catch the fucking person at the end?
I mean, you'll see. I'm not going to spoil it. It's just good.
I feel like that's a yes.
There's a mini game of Operation in the middle of the movie. Like, it's just really smart, and the cameras are good. They have some stylings that, like, for the wide shots, make the city look like a board game or the Game of Life or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, it's just I was totally surprised by it. And Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams are really funny with it in it. Jesse Plemons of Breaking Bad and Friday Night Lights fame is a supporting part in it, and man, that dude is really funny, really, really funny. So I super recommend Game Night. I think it is, if you have a movie night with friends or a date night where you're like, we don't know a movie to watch or whatever. Game Night is going to be my go-to recommendation, just because it's such a crowd pleaser.
I'll just go on a date night. Like, I was thinking about going to a movie tonight with my girlfriend. Fuck it, I'll do that.
Yeah, man, go for it. You can do way worse. It is very solid.
Cool. Quick follow-up. I saw this trailer not too long ago, too. Did you see this movie that's about tag, and it's got Jeremy fucking Renner and John Hamm in it? Speaking of Game Night, because isn't John Hamm also in Game Night?
John Hamm is not in Game Night.
Oh, never mind. Who the fuck am I thinking of? There's some hunk.
Game Night? Oh,
whatever.
Kyle Chandler is in it.
Oh, whatever. But anyway, so John Hamm and Jeremy Renner, and who can't fucking else
Hannibal
remember,
Buress. I watched the trailer today.
Hannibal
Buress is also in it.
Does that look fucking terrible or what?
It looks really dumb.
It looks so dumb. I'm like, how do these fucking movies keep attaching like good talent? Like, John Hamm's coming off Baby Driver. Hannibal Buress is considered like the edgiest comic fucking in the past 10 years, pretty much. And Jeremy Renner is like an Academy Award. I'm not sure if he's won, but he's been nominated a couple times. Like, fucking, he's from the Hurt Locker. What the fuck is he doing playing tag? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, I think.
What the fuck, man? I have no idea. Anyway, I still really don't have anything. What I recommended 2 weeks ago, popping in some documentaries, and I've been on a hard binge of Frontline documentaries, and I love PBS, and I love Frontline, and I know a billion fucking people just rolled their eyes and like, PBS, what is this, the fucking 70s? But PBS is having like a renaissance lately. Did you see the new Mr. Rogers fucking movie that's coming out? God damn, dude. I cried during that commercial.
That was getting hyped up at South by.
I'm sure.
Like, people came out of that saying it was really good. I'm really excited about it.
I'm excited to see it too. I was kind of on the tail end of the Mr. Rogers things. I have very faint memories of watching like his TV shows, so I can't say that I'm like the most dedicated fan, but goddamn, if he wasn't a nice motherfucker, and that is not a nice movie. But I recommend, as my gangbang, and I know it's not very helpful, watching as much Frontline as possible, and I have a couple recommendations.
Okay.
The first one I'd like to recommend, and this is going back to Deli Belly, is Putin's Revenge, which sounds like you ate some bad Russian food. But it's about Putin's like cyber sort of like warfare on the United States, and kind of just like him and where he came from, and sort of his birth pretty much all the way to how he just essentially became the dictator of Russia in this past election and all this election fraud and stuff. And I get it, it's political, so if you for some reason don't believe that there was like some involvement with the Russians and stuff like that, maybe you wouldn't want to see it, but you should do it as a service to yourself to at least brighten your horizons to see something that you might disagree with. That is all I will say about that. So some people have their political opinions. That's fine. Like, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I totally get that, and I respect that. Watch it anyway. Maybe you might learn something, you know? And the other one that I will recommend is, one second, I am pulling it up, Bitter Rivals. And that is between the rivalship of Iran and Saudi Arabia. And the nature of the work that I'm in, it's kind of important. And we actually got to talk with an FBI agent last Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
And he had contributed to that production, and he came in and talked to us about identifying terrorists and stuff like that. So it was really fucking cool that it directly tied in. I was watching the documentary, finished it, and then immediately went downstairs, and lo and behold, a guy who was in the end credits is now talking to me coincidentally. So
dang,
pretty dope.
Pretty cool. All right. Well, those two documentaries are Putin's Revenge and Bitter Rivals. And mine was Game Night, which you can watch in theaters right now. That will do it for this episode of Dude Is This Thing On. For more episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube at Dude Is This Thing On, under a flashy new logo, we might add.
Yeah.
And Emilio, if people want to find more of you on the internet, where can they do that?
Well, you sort of stole my thunder there. You can find me pretty much on YouTube at Dude Is This Thing On. I do the production, mediocrely, I might add, and I upload the videos and stuff like that. You can also find me on Xbox at Evo Elmo. That is EVL space ELMO, all lowercase. Please let me know what you think about my gamer tag, because you always do.
Love it. You can follow me on Twitter at Tyler Daswick, or read my culture writing at relevantmagazine.com. But thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for the special Bollywood edition of Dude Is This Thing On. Go watch Baahubali. We loved it. I think at least we have a very soft spot for it.
Yes, definitely. A very soft spot for the man who can move mountains.
And we certainly watch him do that. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for this episode. We'll see you next time.
See you guys. Ugh.